She's a writer for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, contributor to The Daily Beast, and host of Crooked's Pod Hysteria. Welcome back, Erin Ryan.
It's so good to see you, and it's so good to be here.
And he's a comedian, writer, and host of the show Talk Show The Game Show, author of My Life as a Goddess. Welcome back, Guy Branum.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me, Jon.
Now it's time for OK Stop. We're going to watch a clip of Ivanka Trump. You know her. She's Donald Trump's daughter. She's terrible. And then there's also Donald Trump, her father. We'll hear after that. Let's roll the clip.
My father has strong convictions. He knows what he believes, and he says what he thinks. Whether you agree with him or not, you always know where he stands. I recognize that my dad's communication style is not to everyone's taste, and I know that his tweets can feel a bit unfiltered.
Okay, stop. There's something just extremely Trumpy and hilarious about how naked his preference for Ivanka has become over the course of these last three. Like, he literally lined his kids up for speaking engagements in reverse order of how much he likes them. And he had the one that he's horniest for, like, right before him. You know, he didn't even have the first lady introduce him. He had his weird daughter with a face that doesn't move.
I am fascinated by the fact that America falling from republic to empire will require one of our two political parties handing itself over to an autocrat. Like, it is ridiculous to me that the Republican Party of the United States, representing 50 goddamn states, has said this family gets to run it. Like, that we have not reached a point, yes, Kasich was at the DNC, that we haven't reached a point where all of the Republican politicians didn't stand up and say, like, fuck you, no. Like, sure, you might be president, but you cannot hand all of the power to your children. You don't get to say 12 more years. Like, great for those guys. Look forward. God help me. I hope they get another 76.
The results speak for themselves. I heard foreign leaders beg him not to move the American embassy to Jerusalem, yet he delivered on a promise also made and unfulfilled by past presidents because my father knew that it was the right thing to do.
Okay, stop. I think a nation of people who can no longer go to Applebee's are really soothed by the fact that the Israeli embassy is in Jerusalem now. I think the fact that we are all scared to hug anyone is made, we feel better knowing that there are a couple of pieces of sheet metal down at the southern border. The results speak for themselves.
Look at this fucking super spreader event. Look at this.
Oh my God.
Look at this.
You know,
Look at these anti-citizens. I cannot stand them. I mean, like, look at these people. Just
How many Herman
absolutely
Cains
no
must
regard.
die?
They're awful. I hope Herman Cain haunts the fuck out of all of these people. But also, like, okay, look, I know that, like, there are much more important things, but as somebody who's had to cancel a wedding during the pandemic, and as somebody who has friends and people that acquaintances who have also had to cancel big events, like, everything like this prolongs the amount of time it's going to be between now and when the rest of us can have big events again. This is just a fucking, not only is it a super spreader event, it is a selfish event. It is a selfish fucking event that is hurting everybody else. Like, fuck.
It's actually, it is the it's an epidemiological version of Donald Trump cares about you, because it's basically saying, like, all of these people know that the medical advice says don't gather like this. All of these people know that Dr. Fauci says we got to wear a mask, and they had to change the CDC guidance while he was, like, getting a molar removed or something because he was unconscious. Like, these people all know that what they're doing runs counter to the advice, and yet when Donald Trump says we need to get the economy open, they applaud like crazy, as if they are not in this moment participating in an event contributing to the pandemic that prevents us from from reopening the economy.
There's this deep sense of but not me. The same sentiment that allows them to look at, like, a black man being shot for no reason and not feel anything about it because they know it wouldn't happen to them, gives them the sense that they can do these things and they will not be affected by this virus, which is ridiculous. It's a fucking virus. And there are disparities in medical care in this country. I'm truly surprised that old white people haven't been more scared by this.
But they have, Guy. Yeah, but they have. They have. That's the thing. His numbers among seniors outside of the group of people willing to gather at this monstrous event, it is affecting his numbers. There is still a real world.
I've been doing some small-scale polling work with older Jewish widows at my mother's home, and I have to say, they're fucking terrified, and they're pissed off.
This has been the home of larger-than-life figures like Teddy Roosevelt and Andrew Jackson, who rallied Americans to bold visions of a bigger and brighter future. Within these walls lived tenacious generals like President Grant and Eisenhower, who led our soldiers in the cause of freedom.
He was tired early in this speech. Like, he was, so before the RNC happened this week, there was a promise or threat, depending on who you are, that Donald Trump would be making appearances every single day. Donald Trump gave a really weird speech on Monday and basically vanished for the rest of the week. And he appeared for blatant ethics violations, but he didn't say very much. And then he showed up on the last night and gave a speech that he sort of stumbled through, and really early on looked like he was too tired to deliver. It looked like he'd never read it before. I just want to know, what was he doing all week? What was he doing? Because he wasn't
watching television.
He wasn't practicing this speech. He wasn't.
He was working from dawn until midnight, Erin. He works every single day for you, for us, because he loves us.
If America's going to get a strong man to lead us, shouldn't we get someone stronger?
That's the insult. That's the great insult to all of this, right? That man, we're on the cusp of losing our democracy, and he's such a fucking moron. Imagine if he were smart. Imagine how not close this would be if this guy was fucking smart.
From these grounds, Thomas Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark on a daring expedition to cross a wild and uncharted continent. In the depths of a bloody civil war, President Abraham Lincoln looked out these very windows upon a half-completed Washington Monument and asked God, in his providence, to save our nation.
Okay, stop. I would just like to assert that Donald Trump doesn't know what or where Providence is.
Yeah, it's such a Providence. He doesn't know anything about Providence. He doesn't know. He's not even. He said profoundly accepting things. Providence. These are the words that Stephen Miller thinks you use when you're trying to seem grand, because he doesn't actually have the emotions required or the empathy required to capture the bigness or grandeur that he's attempting to capture.
We will make sure our companies and jobs stay in our country, as I've already been doing for quite some time, if you've noticed. Joe Biden's agenda is made in China. My agenda is made in the USA.
Okay, stop. This is a rude joke, but this is why you don't use up all the cocaine on night one of the convention. He really could have used it. He really could have used a little bump to get him through that speech, because nothing was convincing.
It was just Don Jr. was like, Kim, Jesus, where'd it go? Where'd it go?
I don't know.
That was for both of us. That was for the whole week, Kim.
I would like to make a point. I would like to make an optimistic point. I have very frequently on this podcast asserted that politics is a compromise. When people are like, I feel like Joe Biden is a compromise. Yes, he's a compromise. Jon Lovett and I fell in love with my, from my metaphor that selecting a president is like ordering a pizza with an entire nation, and you're always just going to end up with cheese pizza, even though some people are vegans. It's a fucking compromise. But I would like to say, Joe Biden may be the perfect fighter to confront Donald Trump, because they spent 4 days presenting a technocratic view of what the Democrats want to do, that it is about experts telling you who should be in charge. And if you tried to apply that to the Clintons or Barack Obama, that would maybe feel accurate. Who is this stranger who's telling me what to do because they're more of an expert than I am? And however rough Joe Biden is, he's fucking America. And yes, he says Scranton too much, but like, I feel like the capacity to say, oh, they're culture warring for you is really hard to take when it's coming from a dude who's that down to earth and that reasonable and yes, fallible, but who feels like somebody you know. Like, Joe Biden, like, received the nomination in a fucking public school library with his fucking public school teacher wife, and it didn't feel like a moment. It feels like a place that he ends up sometimes of the year. And I have such hope that that will be able to resonate with America.
Erin Ryan, Guy Branum, what a delight it was to see you. Thank you for going through this emotional journey of having to respond to this godforsaken event.